The reality is the stuff doesn't go away when one of us closes our eyes, you know, or one of us stops believing. So what discernible path to truth is there in, for example, the Christian worldview?
So you're asking me, see, I have discernible path. You're asking me how do I
I'm
know?
asking how you can prove God, I guess. It's kind of a cheat.
You can't prove God. Yeah, you're telling me how do I know how does one know that he thinks is true is really true?
Let me rephrase it then. If you are admittedly or acknowledging that you believe in something that's not necessarily demonstrably true.
Well, not something that's not necessarily quantifiable. It's a difference.
Well, then I don't know if I can rephrase the question, because the issue is, I use reason as a path to truth, and it seems that you're using reason plus. And I don't mean that in the positive way. If you find something else, you are injecting something additional, and I wonder what that is and why you feel it's justified.
Yeah,
because it's necessary.
Because so you're thinking this is what's hard. You're thinking in both fundamentalist and Catholic classic categories. Okay, and I don't buy into those. I really don't. I look at the apprehension of truth. Okay, let's call it that. Okay, how does one find truth? Okay, it's certainly reason. I mean, you use your mind. But there is much in life that reason, you use your reason to maybe describe, but reason itself can't capture. Notions of justice, notions of beauty, the essence of meaning, okay? And those are things that are certainly reasonable, I mean, subject to reason, so to speak, but they are also broader than the categories of reason can possess. That's, for example, why we have music. Okay, what is music? Is music reason? No, it's not. But is music reasonable? Yes, but it transcends the very categories of reason because it can communicate something greater than the categories of reason themselves can possess. It's not unreasonable, it's part of reason. But if we were to reduce the color and the narrative and the story of a musical piece just to reasonable categories, we'd be missing the entire message. That's what I mean.
Okay.
Well, that was a fascinating exchange, and perhaps in the concluding remarks it'll continue, but each side now has 5 minutes for wrapping whatever bow they would like to put on this, and then we'll proceed to open questioning. Matt gets 5 minutes for closing.
Yeah, and I'll take considerably less, in part because I want to get to the other questions. It seems that there's a great many things we agree on. One of my goals is to try and figure out where we agree and where we disagree and why. I don't know that we can get there.
I can tell you why.
And hopefully you will. It seems that there are many things that we agree on. And I heard you say at one point that you don't have any problem with the idea that atheists can discern morality through a different source than what you do. And so it seems that while I'm saying the source of morality is reason, you're advocating a reason plus, or a reason and some other root, or an amplifier. I don't know. I'll let you get to that when you get to it. My thing is, and this goes to my general inability to comprehend why people consider faith to be a virtue. And I don't necessarily know that we're in disagreement here because I'm not as familiar with orthodoxy, but to me, reason is it. I mean, when it comes to discerning the truth, it's all you have to go on. You can only comprehend what you can comprehend. Your limits are there, and that's the reason we use it for everything. It's the reason we have discussions. It's the reason we set up debates, and I've used the word reason 4 times. It's it. And what we also know is that when people propose alternate paths to truth, alternate paths of discernment, they cannot reliably demonstrate consistent results. We see this in the fact that there are hundreds of religions, thousands of denominations, and schisms all over the place, which, you know, if we were having a different debate on the nature of God and religion. I'm sure he and I would agree on even more things. And the one thing that, because generally speaking, we both reject every God that's ever been proposed except for one. And my rejection is based on this, in part, on this idea that until it's reasonably demonstrated, I can't see it. Faith is not a reliable pathway to truth. And we know that the secular moral system is, in fact, superior, both in that it necessarily has the interests of the participants in mind. It is internal. It is built on self-correction. Its entire purpose is to build a system that checks itself. It's not easy. Sam Harris lately has been referring to human well-being as the pinnacle goal. And I happen to completely agree with it. Reading Sam's book, it was like, yes, I've been saying this, but I didn't have the language. And he's been called on the carpet for the nebulous nature of well-being, and his answer is to tie it to health. And I highly recommend that anybody who's interested in the subject, regardless of where you sit in the spectrum, it's a good book that will make you think. And I hope that we've both done that as well. But we need to show the people who are adopting these secular positions that to stop. The goal of secular morality.
The chair grants an additional minute.
The goals of secular... Okay, 1 minute. I can kill this in a minute. We need to show people that they don't have to be stealth secularists. They can actually join in and participate. They can be proud of their participation, and they can directly benefit from their contributions rather than standing in opposition to the very values they secretly embrace. Secular moral systems are inclusive. The authority comes from within. The focus is improvement. Based on our interest in the authority is based directly on a demonstration that the results meet the goals. We need to not make any appeals to the unknown. We are intelligent, empathetic, compassionate beings. We have the ability to set goals and solve problems. The fact that we're not perfect yet doesn't cripple us, it drives us. Because the goal of secular morality include the goal of getting better at getting better.
Okay, final statement. See, you're not true to, not completely true to the, not yours, but the atheist presuppositions. Your atheism is a kinder, gentler atheism than many of the new atheists. It is. But that's because there's notions of moral progress, and also there's also an eschatological vision that it can end up in a better place, which I say is a borrowing from Christianity. But I also say, not necessarily of Matt here, but of the atheist project also portends some great danger. Secularism, as I define it, is nothing more than a blindness to the sacred dimension of life. Now, Matt says everything has to be reasonable. I argue that truth really doesn't come to you through the categories of logic. It comes to you through beauty. It comes to you through reading fiction, especially literature. You know, the irony is that fiction, good fiction, is generally truer than nonfiction, isn't it? Because it reaches deeper truths. It comes to you through music. And this is one of the dangers of the profaning of our culture. You know, every place, I was in Borders, actually preparing for this, and they had a whole thing of Madonna songs on, you know, and I said, please, it can only take so much, right? But it's a profaning of culture. It really is, you know, and it's just a slow leveling. And so we lose the magnanimous beauty of human creativity, and it's human creativity that the essential truths come through. Now, granted, it's a messy project. I have no argument with that. And because there's people disagree on what is truth and what isn't, I just say that's all part of the mix. If we believe in truth as a universal category, truth can emerge as long as people hold that presupposition in common and they're men and women of goodwill. I think you are, And I think you hold that fundamental presupposition in spite of your atheism. Okay? I do. I really do. The new atheists don't, though. And the radical atheists don't either. And this is why secularism is something that I don't see as liberation. Okay? I see as potentially dangerous. To my eye, secularism defined as the elimination or the negation of the sacred dimension of life, and all of life has a sacred character, will, in the end, in historical terms, I'm making a projection here, prove to be nothing more than a layover from one city to the next. And that's what I worry about. Okay? Secularism, it appears to be a road of freedom, and it's presented that way. I'm not so sure it is. I worry that it's going to end up in tyranny. Why do I point to this? I'm not holding Matt responsible to this. I'm not holding all atheists responsible to this. But the atheist project, you know, from the 1900s forward, has been a bloody one. A very, very bloody one. And the historical record is not kind to it. So if secularism leads us to a new city, a new Jerusalem of sorts, where human sensitivity has been reduced to raw logic, and the belief, okay, not the proof, the belief that men and women are nothing more than the molecules that make up their brain, then this vision, this world vision, where truth comes through the flourishing of human creativity and human beauty and human language and the architecture and the music and the literature, it will be lost. It will be lost, because that kind of human flourishing, that kind of human creativity ultimately has its source and origin in the living God, and all of us, I'm speaking as a Christian, all of us were created by Him to share in that life, and our fulfillment is to express that community in our particular human, personal distinctiveness. That's lost. That's the vision that is lost in secularism. And the historical record, as I said, shows that secularism, the denial of that sacred dimension, is a place that leads, in the end, to concentration camps and gulags. It does. Read your history.
The time for questions and answers is not started.
Read your history. I'll close with this. I said that this is one of the fundamental questions of our age. If you want to read of this in more specificity, read the new philosophers, the new French philosophers, André Glucksmann, Bernard Henry Levy. Especially read his book, Barbarism with the Human Face. This is being talked about on very, very high levels. Hitchens knows this. And this is what he's arguing against. Popular atheism, even popular Christianity, doesn't. But understand that much is at stake here. And one of the things is at stake is the very light that has enlightened Western culture, as imperfectibly as man has seen and perceived that light. But if that goes out, if that is extinguished, then we face a very, very dangerous future indeed.